All right, let's welcome in this week Tom Upton, the new coach at Brown, who taken over after coming from UMass, obviously a very successful program, working for Greg Carville there. And what's it like now with your own program now these first few weeks?
You know what? It's been great so far. First off, thanks for having me on and obviously taking the time to chat with me. First couple of weeks have been great. Obviously, it was a little unusual getting hired, before the season at UMass ended, or getting announced at least before that. So, had the opportunity to come down the Sunday that I was announced to talk with the team here.
Right.
A little bit of a difficult message just because, again, we still had season left at UMass and they still had season left here at Brown. So the message was a little different than normal just because, I wanted to be mindful and respectful of Brown playing their current season. Obviously, the kids I was still coaching at UMass and all that, but it was nice to come down here and at least, speak face to face with the guys. And then obviously to be around throughout the spring, once our season at UMass ended, once Brown's season ended, and we started our spring workouts here at Brown, it was nice to be down here and get to know some of the returners and run some meetings, talk about, our mentality moving forward and how we were going to do things and all that. And so it's been good. It's been good. The hockey, I always say the hockey side is the easiest side of the transition.
Yeah,
it's all
exactly.
the other logistical stuff.
Especially these days, believe we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
And I don't want to dwell on UMass because now you're coaching Brown, obviously. But just one thing quickly. I mean, you guys had, up and down first half, tremendous run second half of the season.
Yeah.
Just weren't able to win, one more game that may have gotten you the NCAA. So, what in retrospect, what happened last season with all that?
We had a lot of new players. It's not unusual these days in college hockey, obviously with the transfer portal, and especially at a program like that where guys are signing and leaving early. So we had a lot of new faces that first half. So I think it was just them adjusting to how we did things there and how we played and the expectations and the standards. And obviously once they figured it out right around Christmas time and, Michael Harabel started playing, his best hockey that I've seen in the 3 years I coached him.
Right.
It all kind of came together, and we went on that nice run at the end of the year. But
Ran
I
into
think
a guy having a better night that night than Harabel in
Yeah.
there. So
that was a great that Merrimack team had an awesome year, and they had a great second half as well. And they're a hell of a team. They've got a good staff, obviously, and we just came up on the short end of the stick there in the semis.
So now coming to Brown, obviously, the recruiting landscape has changed dramatically for everybody. But, I mean, even at every school, it's a little bit different depending on where you are. Obviously, for an Ivy, the Ivy League's a little different than Hockey East. Big Ten's different than, Hockey East teams. So now that you'll have to recruit in the Ivy League, I mean, that's a different challenge. What was that like, just sort of talking in the interview process to I guess, convince people that, that you were fine with that?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I said, at the end of the day, hockey's hockey, and we're looking for the same things. We're not looking for a lesser player here at Brown because we're an Ivy League school. We're looking for a better student, obviously. But for me, the evaluation doesn't change. You got to get the right people, and you got to make sure they fit in with what you're doing and they play to your identity that you're trying to build. And obviously, the academic piece isn't a challenge, but that's the most important piece above all else, because if they're simply not good enough students and don't have a path to come to Brown, then why are you wasting your time recruiting them? So
Right.
For me, it's gotten more and more about communication now with the academic stuff early, making sure that we get kids transcripts and we get a good read on them and make sure that they're able to realistically get into an Ivy League school. And then once we know that, then, it's game on, just like it has been at all the other schools I was at.
Yeah, I mean, and look, it's no secret that there's money flying around these days. That's the kind of thing where the Ivy League schools can't really do that, but still feeling like that is not an insurmountable hurdle. You know what I mean? I mean, I think it's maybe naive to say it's not a hurdle at all. I mean, but I mean, it's something that with the right staff and everything you can overcome, I assume. And you're not going to say otherwise, but
Yeah, it actually removes a little bit of the BS conversation, I find. Obviously you don't get into a bidding war with another school. It's a little simpler at a school like this in regards to just, hey, listen, this is what we can provide from an academic standpoint. This is what we can provide from an athletic standpoint and a development standpoint. Either you want to be a part of it or not. If you're chasing, 50 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand as a college athlete, then an Ivy League school is not the place for you. But if you want to come somewhere and get an elite education that could change your life, but also develop and make your impact as an athlete while you're here, then we'll talk. So for me, it simplifies it a little bit. Obviously there's kids that have different priorities. There are kids and families that want to make as much money as they can while they're a college athlete. That's great. But a place like Brown isn't the place for you. And if we, for some reason, convince a kid like that to come here, then it probably wouldn't be a good fit anyway. So. And
when I talk to coaches around the country, I mean, forget the money stuff, but everyone has the retention issue. I mean, no matter where you are, whether you're even at a Big Ten school, I mean, guys come and go because they go pro after a year or two. I mean, so that's feels like almost a bigger hurdle for everybody. So, I mean, and obviously when you came, I mean, there was a few guys that left in the transition, and I mean, that's to be expected no matter what, whenever there's a coaching change. So, but just talk about like what the philosophy is in terms of how you keep guys, intact, because there's nothing more important than having guys in your program 2, 3, 4 years, and how you keep them there when there's all these lures everywhere. And there's so it's so easy. Like I always say, like it's easier than changing your underwear to go to some other school now, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. No, you know what I think? Like anywhere, if you're providing these kids with a good environment and a positive experience, and they feel like they're getting better as athletes, and they feel like they're not only cared for but also being pushed to their maximum, I don't think it's a foolproof plan in today's world, but I think your percentages of keeping those kids go up. And that's the only thing that I wish I would have been able to spend a little more time with the kids that decided to leave here, because I think they would have had a great experience moving forward and felt like they were getting better. But you know what? We're not going to achieve what we want to achieve and get better as a program with people that are here that aren't all in and that don't want to be here. So it is what it is, and we're going to move forward with the people that want to be a part of this.
And how much have you talked to Brendan Whitted? Obviously, he was there for an alum. And there for over 20 years. Obviously, it's been challenging for him, but I don't know if you've been able to pick his brain or what he's told you about what to look out for in Providence.
Yeah, no, it's Brendan. Obviously, he's an alumni. He's a coaching alumni also right now, and he still is working here for the athletic department.
Right.
So it's been great. It's been great to get to know him more and speak with him and all that. Obviously, his experience is phenomenal as a Division I head coach, for as long as he was. You don't find a lot of guys with that experience anymore. So it's been really nice to obviously have him around and be able to speak with him.
Well, I wanted to go back because, I mean, obviously not the only coach you can pick his brain on, because I was, just going back through your whole history. So this is where we get into this is your life. So let me just start at the beginning, because you're from Austin, Texas, which is a wonderful place. And there's even scuttlebutt right now of a potential NHL team going there in the future, but growing up, it certainly wasn't like that. I know there's a lot of minor league there, but what was that like, just trying to make an impact in hockey, and how'd you even get into it? That's probably the age-old question for anyone from Texas at that point.
Yeah, no, so to be honest with you, I was born in New York, in Queens.
Okay.
Yeah.
My parents so was I, by the way.
No way.
Wow. Whereabouts were you?
So my dad's from Franklin Square.
Okay. And
that's where he grew up, and that's where we lived when I was first born. My mom's from Brooklyn, actually.
Gotcha.
So we lived in Queens for a little bit, and then we moved out to Long Island when I was only a year or two old, and then we lived out there till I was 9. But I didn't I didn't play organized hockey out there. Obviously.
How'd you get listed as being from Austin then? What happened there?
Well, so we moved to Austin when I was 9.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you didn't play organized hockey on Long Island at all?
No. So I didn't. We, the Islanders, obviously in the 80s, were having some good runs. So my dad was an Islanders fan. And when I was born, he used to bring me to Islanders games. And then he started bringing me to Rangers games. I became a Rangers fan.
Oh, that's not good.
So I was so actually the way I became a Rangers fan, I remember my dad used to take me probably once a month to an Islanders game. And this one month he wasn't able to get tickets to an Islanders game. So he got tickets to a Rangers game at MSG. And obviously at the time I was an Islanders fan. I think I was probably 5 years old, 6 years old. And I guess I was just pissed that we weren't going to the Islanders game. We were going to the Rangers game. And we got there early, and my dad was holding me by the glass to watch warm-ups. And Bernie Nichols, who was the captain of the Rangers at the time, Bernie Nichols flipped me a puck, and it had the Rangers logo on it and all that. And from then
Wow.
on, throughout my childhood, I was a Rangers fan. And then obviously Mark Messier came in. He was my favorite player.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say it's like 91, 92, that somewhere in there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I'm a
So
little bit
not,
older than you, so when the Islanders are winning cups, so again, I grew up, was born in Bayside, but we moved
okay.
out like everybody. Go to Long Island, go out there when I was
Yeah.
5, and then when I was basically in junior high was when the Islanders were winning all those cups. Maybe actually, it started in like 5th grade.
Oh, shoot.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean that's never getting out of my system.
Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, for better or worse. I mean,
yeah,
it's been 43 years at this point. But
yeah,
I know from growing up in the 80s, there was almost nobody from there. There wasn't a lot of rinks,
yeah.
and they were just starting to build them, I think, in the 90s. So, but then you moved to Austin, where I don't know what is the rink situation there, and how did that get started
Well,
then?
at the time, it's actually a pretty funny story. So I had skated on Long Island. I did what was her name? Barbara Williams
Oh,
skating.
the the power skater.
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
that. That's who taught me to skate when I was really little
right.
at Kings Park Rink, I want to
Yeah,
say. Then we moved to Austin, and they had a youth hockey league in Austin actually. So I wanted to sign up for it when we moved there. I was 9, and but there was only one rink in town, and it was in the middle of a mall, North Cross Mall at the time, and it was like I'm talking smack in the middle. There were no penalty boxes. There
Oh,
were
right.
no benches. We would have to wait outside of the Zamboni door for a
Right.
whistle, and then we'd all come piling on the ice, and then you'd have to be out there till the next whistle, unless you shot it into the food court. That was a good way to get a whistle, shooting the puck into the food court. So,
That's
and
good
then
stuff.
obviously when I got a little bit older, they built like a legit rink in town and all that. That was great. But obviously, it's not a hockey hotbed. I practiced for an hour a week my entire life. We would practice on Wednesday nights. I think it was from 9:15 to 10:15 at night, and then I was lucky enough to progress and go to different things and put in some extra work and tried out for some USHL teams.
Yeah.
And back then it was the America West Hockey League was around, and the North American League, and made an AWHL team when I was 17. And I was blown away because, again, I had practiced an hour a week my entire life. That was the only ice we got. So
Right.
getting to junior hockey and practicing for 2 hours and doing it 5 days a week, I was like, holy cow, this is incredible.
Where that's Central Texas. Where is that? Is that actually in Austin, Central
No,
Texas?
so it's actually about 40 minutes north of Austin.
Okay.
And they were an expansion team my senior year. And
Right.
obviously being 45
Yeah.
minute drive north of Austin, I was like, shoot, I got to try out for this team. Like, if I'm going to play junior hockey, might as well
Yeah.
stay at home and go to my high school with all my buddies and still play junior hockey. So I was lucky enough to make that team.
Yeah. Gotcha. And then I'm just looking at Helena, which I've never been to Montana yet. I live in Denver now, so I'm closer than I used to be, but
Yeah.
have not made it
Helena
to
was
Montana.
great. Helena
Yeah,
was
I
awesome.
mean, it seems
It
awesome.
was sweet. It was beautiful playing.
Yeah.
I think I played almost 3 years there. It was awesome living out there. A good experience. I felt like I grew as a person, and it was a great experience. Who the heck gets to say they lived in Montana? Not a lot of people. So that was
There
a
aren't
cool
many people
experience.
live there now either, but
Yeah.
but I definitely do want to visit. So at some point, we're about 12 hours drive, but it's a very large state. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you wind up at Stevens Point, Wisconsin Stevens Point, obviously, and played 4 years there. And it's interesting because I was looking, you jumped pretty much into coaching after that. But the time you were there, between playing and coaching, you had 3 different head coaches. One of
Yeah.
them, I guess, had left for Cortland right away, right?
Yeah.
Soon after you got there, but then you played for Will Nickel, who
Yeah.
is actually with the Vegas Golden Knights for a long
Yeah.
time now. So I don't know how much you keep in touch with him. I mean,
Oh yeah.
share stories. I mean, I'm sure that must be tremendous. Obviously, just made the Stanley Cup final again.
Yeah. No, he Will. So when I got there, like you said, Joe Balderota was the head coach there. He was there for a long time at Stevens Point, but obviously he was getting older, kind of towards the end of his time. And after my freshman year, Baldy left, and they hired Will. And I played for Will for 3 years. I was a captain my senior year. And then right after I got done with my senior year, Anthony Noreen was actually our assistant
right.
coach
Oh,
before
wow.
that. And Anth and I actually lived together. He was our
Okay.
captain when I was a freshman. So Anthony's one of my best friends.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So Anthony had been our assistant coach because he was a couple years older than me. Will hired him as an assistant when I was still playing. And then when Anthony left to take the Youngstown Phantoms assistant coaching job before he was
Right.
the head coach there,
Right.
I had just graduated, and Will said, "Hey, listen, do you want to get into coaching? I'd love to have you, get Anthony's job and stay as an assistant coach." And that's when I got into coaching, and it's been going on. It's been 16 years now, 16 seasons. It's going on 17. It's been great. But Will's a great resource for me. He obviously, has worked his way up through many different levels, and obviously he's doing a tremendous job. He's one of their top player development guys with Vegas. He's got his name on the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to go to a Stanley Cup party years ago when they won it in Vegas, and obviously they have a great product on the ice every year. So he's a really good mentor for mine. He gave me my start in coaching, and then I was really lucky because when Will left, Will took a scouting job with the Washington Capitals. Actually, that's when he left Stevens Point. That's how he got in with George McPhee.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. I was putting those connections together there.
Oh yeah.
And we hired Vegas and
So we hired. So I was sitting there. I was a 1-year assistant coach at the D3 level. I had no idea what I was doing. And we hired Chris Brooks, who's now at Clarkson.
Yep.
And Brooksy came in, and I had zero connections to Brooksy. Like he had coached at Western Michigan for 9 years. He had coached pro hockey in the Central League for a number of years. And so that was the first time in my career, 1 year in, that I was like, man, this is real. Like this guy might not even keep me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was lucky enough that Brooksy kept me. And to be honest with you, I learned so much for Brooksy in the 2 years that we coached together. It was absolutely phenomenal. He's become one of my best friends. I talk to him every week. Another great mentor of mine. It's actually cool that we're coaching in the same league.
Yeah, I was going to say, now you get to compete against him more directly now.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time.
No, it's true. And I actually coached Brooksy's son, Barrett, in Madison.
Okay.
Barrett was a 20-year-old for us that year and a great leader and great player for us that year. Helped us do some really nice things in Madison that year. So it's just funny how full circle the hockey world becomes.
It is crazy. As far as Anthony Noreen, though, I mean, the dude can sell ice to an Eskimo. I see him every couple of times, here because they play Denver, so I see him at least once a year when they come through here, which he's always great to talk to. But as far as, his ability to recruit, and I mean, I'm kidding, but I mean, it's a really tremendous skill that he can talk, and he does a great job of look what he's done with Miami in a short time. So are there any tips there you've been talking to him about? Because, I mean, you got, your own challenges there just in terms of, getting guys to listen to your message, I mean, that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. I mean, for me, I've been lucky. I've been able to work for people and get close with people that have become great friends and mentors for me. So I always lean on those folks, and Anthony's no different, and he's been another, obviously we started off as friends and teammates, but, he's been a great mentor of mine as well over the years, just whether it's, different jobs that I call him about that maybe might be something that's good for me or maybe it's not good for me. And he tells me, hey, I don't know if this would be a right step for you. But also just coaching and different philosophies, it's great to bounce ideas off him. We've never worked together except we did coach together at the Hlinka tournament a couple years ago. It's the first time that him and I had coached together. Even though we're great friends, like some of our philosophies are a little bit different, which actually makes it really cool because it makes it for some really good conversation, and even working with them made for a little, some hard conversations. And I think that's a great thing to have on a staff is just you can't have a bunch of yes men. So it's nice. Yeah. Nice working with him and sharing my vision of things and sharing his and then coming up with a solution. But he's, like I say, he's one of my best friends in the world. Not only is he a great person, he's a great mentor of mine. And obviously I'm lucky to have him in my life. And, he's definitely given me a lot of advice, throughout my career, but especially since I got here. And, one of the big things is just, hey, listen, stick with what you believe in, especially early on in your time. If, we want to play a certain way here at Brown. And, maybe right now we don't have a locker room full of guys that play to that style just because of the recruiting factor, old recruits and new recruits and all that. But his big thing so far was just, hey, don't worry about the wins and losses. Just, establish your identity and how you want to play. And then over time, obviously, you'll have more and more people in that room that play to that style.
Getting to your time at Mercyhurst and another Long Islander, by the way, Rick Gotkin.
Yeah.
Who was, someone I got to know really well over the years, obviously, and everything that went down. And, just, I don't know if you have any, you were only there a few years, but it was too bad the way things went down, obviously. Yeah,
it's terrible. Obviously we can't change, and no one can change the past and decisions that were made, but obviously it's terrible. But I'm happy that, Rick obviously, had a long career there and impacted a lot of players and athletes. And, I was with him for 3 years and it was great. I actually thought it was great for my development. Rick gave me a lot of freedom to do things and try things and run things even though it was my first time coaching at the Division I level,
Right.
he let me run with different things, whether it was the PK or coaching the forwards or power play at times or running practice. Like the fact that he let me almost feel like a head coach at times, I was very grateful for. And I really think that my time there working under him prepared me really well to be the head coach in Madison for that next job after I left there. And, because most guys, if you don't have any experience in Division I, like I'm sure it's hard for a lot of head coaches to let a guy with zero experience at that level run with a couple things and be in charge of things. And from day one, he was great. I'm very grateful for that. Someone that coached at Division I as long as he had when I got there, he could have been like, hey, just shut your mouth and push the pucks, right? And he didn't. He let me run things and let me take full accountability and responsibility for things. And so I owe a lot to Rick and the time I spent with him for sure.
And then, of course, again, hockey, small world, Tom Peffel, who was supposed to take over for Rick this year. And, of course, then the program gets canceled. You just brought him in as assistant coach at Brown. So that was nice to be able to do. Obviously, again, you talked before about, the tough decisions. You got him, a new head coach comes in, who's staying, who's going. But just talk about, getting your staff together here.
Yeah, you know what? Obviously, there needed to be some changes made. And I'm not a person who just comes into something and assumes that people do a bad job. I'm more about the people than the actual job. I think that if you have the right people in place, then everyone can overachieve and do a better job probably than they should. So, I had to make some decisions just based on personalities and what I thought would be a good fit for myself and for our program moving forward. And obviously we kept Matt Plant on staff here, who I've never worked with Planner, but I've known him for a while. And I know his mentality. I know his work ethic. I know his integrity. And it aligned exactly with what I would like on this staff. He's very energetic and very passionate. That's another important thing that I think we need here. So Evan Morehouse was here when I got here, and Evan Morehouse is tremendous. I love him, and I love my couple weeks I got to spend with him. And I was going to keep him, and then obviously he had an opportunity to go to UMass as a goalie coach, and so it's kind of funny
there.
Yeah, exactly. So Evan's actually from not far from where the UMass campus is, and Evan's dad has done the color commentating for the UMass hockey team for a number of years. So Evan grew up watching that program, grew up around that program. His family's from around there, so it was a great opportunity for him. And obviously I was sad to see Evan go because I was looking forward to working with him, but it was a great opportunity for him. So he went there, and then we hired Michael Gartag, who Gartsy played in this league. He won a championship in the ECAC. He played for a national championship as a starting goalie, and he's got tremendous experience as a professional goalie over the last 10 years. So I didn't know Gartsy. I had some connections to him through other people. Other people called on his behalf. And, when I sat down with him and interviewed him through Zoom and we chatted and we talked, I knew he was the right fit for the job. So he'll be here. The other thing I really liked about Gartsy is he doesn't just want to be a goalie coach.
Yeah.
He said that. He goes, hey, I want to be a coach. I want to learn how to coach every position, coach systems, which I really value, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but, some staffs, you get, the goalie guy just worries about the goalies and just cares about the goalies and don't ask him about anything else, and they don't know how to run anything else. So the fact that he wants to be a well-rounded coach was really appealing to me for that position. Obviously, he'll work heavily with our goalies, but he'll be involved with everything. And then, like you said, we just hired Tom Peffel, and I've never worked with Peff, but, obviously he was about to be a Division I head coach. Let's be honest. And caught an unfortunate bounce there at Mercyhurst, and I'm glad it worked out because he's another guy like Planner, very blue-collar mentality. He's worked his way up. He's grinded. He does a great job with connecting with players. I actually called a lot of his former players to ask about their time with him and all that. And another guy that comes from integrity and has a huge impact on guys on the ice as well. And again, it's not every day you get a guy who technically is a Division I head coach knocking on your door looking for an assistant job. So we're very lucky that we were able to round out the staff with him.
So I just want to wrap up with a few things that we didn't get to here in the last couple of minutes.
Yep.
First of all, again, you went to Madison and don't have time to get into all of it, but I was curious what you think the future holds for the USHL, as someone who's been on the recruiting trail and how the landscape has changed. You see like sort of, prep school is almost an afterthought these days in New England. I don't know if that'll ever come back. I mean, now, the USHL and guys going to, now to go into Canada. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, I'm not holding you to this opinion because no one has a crystal ball. I'm just curious where you see that all headed.
I love the league still. I really
Yeah.
do. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I worked in the league for a number of different teams, and I believe in that model and I believe in that league. But we're still going to recruit the USHL, and major junior is obviously a great option as well. We're going to spend time up there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a negative. I see it more as just it's another couple leagues that we can recruit from. But for me, obviously, you're not going to see Fantilli and Celebrini and those guys anymore coming down just because, why would you go to play in the USHL when you can play an hour from home in the OHL, which is understandable. But I still think that those top American players are still there. And those are the kids we really want to target, obviously. And, it's a great league. There's great coaches in that league. It's ran well. The GMs are phenomenal. I had a great experience. So we will heavily continue to stay in that league along with adding, obviously, the major junior league. So I don't think it's going to change much. I think it's all going to even out eventually again. But I don't think top to bottom, the depth in the USHL has taken a hit at all. And I don't think it will personally,
Gotcha. Like I said, we're just kind of always asking everyone's opinion of this because it's all just sort of unfolding still. But last but not least, the one guy I did not ask you about yet so far is Greg Carvel, who you got to coach for at UMass. And I always, again, I saw him play at St. Lawrence back in the day. I used to go to the UCAC tournament every year before I moved to Denver, so I'd see him when he was coaching St. Lawrence. I always figure if I can get him to smile, I've accomplished something in the course of the conversation. But he's also got this dry humor that I think people don't quite understand as a joke sometimes. So I don't know. I get along with him fine. But just curious what it was like to coach with him.
It was phenomenal. It was 4 years of learning, to be honest with you, with Carvey. Obviously, he spent 12 years in the NHL and he coached in 2 Stanley Cup finals. So when I had the opportunity to go learn from a man like that, I couldn't pass up on it, even though I love being a head coach in Madison. Obviously we were having success there, but I knew that it was a great opportunity for me to learn. And it was great with Carvey. He's actually really funny. I know. Sometimes you got to get him in the right setting, but he's become a great friend of mine, another great mentor. I feel very lucky to have him in my life. But we had a blast together. And I bring a little bit of humor to the staff. That's kind of what I bring. So maybe that got some more laughs and smiles out of Carvey. But he's great. He's funny. He's a good family man. Obviously, he's an exceptional coach and leader. And I learned a ton from him. And another guy who, could have told me just to keep my mouth shut and, watch what he does, especially a guy like him. And, I was very lucky that throughout my 4 years there, he allowed me to just coach to my strengths and coach to my style and run with some different things and run with different ideas and feel like a head coach at times and run meetings. And very lucky for my time I spent with him, for sure. He's become a great friend, and he's actually hilarious. So. No,
I love it. I was just kidding around. You left him a full plate there.
Well, you know what? I'm very lucky that I was on staff, with that last class that we got. But obviously, Nolan Glukowski, who was my partner in crime there, the other assistant, he did a lot of the work on that class, and he's done a phenomenal job there in 4 years, Nolan. I think he's one of the best young coaches in the country. I really do. From starting off as a volunteer and then working his way up, and now he's, he recruited the quote unquote second best class, as far as draft picks go, and I think it might have been one of the top classes for UMass. Like Nolan had the biggest hand in that class. He did a lot of the boots on the ground and the leg work, and I was very lucky to obviously work with him. But it's I'm happy for them. I'm happy a lot of those kids, got drafted, and I'm happy for their program, and hopefully they have a great year, except for when they play Brown. That's the only time I won't be rooting for them.
Well, good luck with everything. I look forward to, Brown making a resurgence. I want an excuse to go back to Providence and have some more Italian food. So
yeah, come on down. Come on down.
And now that I'm in Denver, it's a little harder, but I used to go there all the time. So I've been to Meehan plenty of times back in the day. But good luck with everything. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.